Hello, everybody, and welcome to yet again another episode of the Elite City Podcast. It was a heck of a week. Biddy is still away, by the way, so before we forget, so everyone say hi to Biddy.
Yeah, we miss you, Biddy. Come back soon.
She'll be back next week, I believe. So just in time for All In, because we're 28 days away.
Exciting.
Unreal. Yes.
Now, there's been a lot of talk online, and even CM Punk mentioned it on Collision. Obviously there's no matches for All In. They haven't really talked about All In even that much. Does that bother you?
No, because they never talk about anything. Like, that's typical how they do business.
Right.
I mean, if they've sold everything months and months and months, second by second, and then did it this way, I'd be like, oh, okay. But no, like, I mean, we really didn't know about Forbidden Door until like the week before.
Right. Yeah. And like, I was going to that show, and like, I was excited when they announced matches, but I would have been equally excited if they had announced the matches like the day before. Like, I really don't care. Like, really, like, it's going to be a good show. Like, AEW's never had like their last, like, not before Forbidden Door or whatever the last pay-per-view was, all Double or Nothing. Yeah. That was like considered like a not good AEW pay-per-view, like one of their weakest recent pay-per-views, but it was still really good. Like, there was everything about it was still good. Like, they've never let anyone down on a big show. So going into it, not even knowing who's going to be on the show or who they're wrestling, like, it's not like they're going to be, the show's going to get there and they're going to be like, oh yeah, you're just going to watch Serpentico stand in the ring for 3 hours. Like they're going to do something. No offense to Serpentico, he was just the first person I thought of.
No, you're right. But before you go any further, let's get into our plugs that we always forget.
Yes.
So, everybody at Elite City Pod everywhere. Excuse me. Share, like, subscribe. I think we're even on X. Believe it or not.
if it still exists. If you hear this, it still exists. Yeah. Yes. Well, and when you go to your podcast app, whatever you listen to on Apple or Spotify or Google or whatever, subscribe or like or share or whatever you can do on there, rate whatever various features you have, because that's always helpful. That helps with like other people notice that we're there, because you know that we're there, but nobody else does. So
yeah,
that would be great if you shared.
So thank you, and now we can move along. We always forget that important stuff.
Yes.
It was another busy week. AEW has been putting on banger after banger, and Orange Cassidy has been leading the way. He has the most title defenses in the company's history now, and he had another one this past week against AR Fox. Who beats him? Or
I don't know at this point. Like, I honestly don't know. Like, I think you mentioned a few weeks ago, like, Pac at All In makes sense.
Yeah.
That's the only person I can kind of think, because he beat, like, I really thought when he faced Swerve that was going to be it, but it wasn't. So now I don't know. Yeah.
Pac makes the most sense. It's still, I mean, like, the story is, I guess, kind of built in. They'll just pick up where they left off, but I don't know. I'm okay with it. Don't get, like, I'm not like souring on the situation, but it's just I wish it was a little more cut and dry. I don't know.
That makes sense. And I think you said a couple weeks ago, like, like, the reign's been great. His matches have all been great. Like, I even like the storyline they're telling of, like, where he gets a bit more beaten up every match and has to, like, not cheat, but like come with more desperate ways to win. Like, they're like random roll-ups, or like, then they're definitive wins, but like they're desperation wins. I like that storyline that they're telling. But I think you were right when you said, like, eventually it's going to look like he beat himself. Like, he got so beaten up, he's so worn down, that like the other person doesn't get the credit as much for beating him as, like, oh yeah, he had, like, 35 title defenses. Of course he's going to lose.
It's that weird thin line I think in 28 days, if he loses it, I would be okay with that. I'm almost positive he cannot win at All In.
Yeah, if he gets past All In and All Out, both of those,
oh,
then
that's
I don't
true.
know. Then I don't know what they do. Like he has to lose. I think he has to lose at one of those. And I hope this isn't one of the the guy Tony Khan wants to beat him is injured, so they're going to wait 6 months. It's been great.
Yeah.
Not that I'm knocking his title reign, but like he needs to lose eventually.
Yeah, it's just it's getting to that point, and
because this one, like AR Fox was good. I liked what they did, the stuff with Darby. Like I liked that they kind of put a little story into it, but like AR Fox was not going to win.
No.
At no point did I think, oh, this is it for the title reign. Like if he'd been facing Swerve or Pac or something, then I'm like, oh, maybe, but not AR Fox.
Right. And it was a good match.
Yeah.
But okay, so go into the end. What did you think of the? I mean, all in all, at the end of the show, he went full heel turn. But
yeah,
do you like how they semi-teased it, or would you rather have been full blown, just destroyed Orange after the match?
No, I like what they did. He you could think at the time, oh, he's just frustrated that he lost.
Right.
It's not that he's like a jerk. He really wanted to win that match. Like I like it.
Right.
I thought it was good.
Same here. I like the aspect of it in that too. Is what athlete in any sport, you lose, you say things and do things that you might not normally do. I mean, we've all done it. You lose, I don't know, you just might cuss someone out or something. I don't know.
Right. Yeah.
And it's like out of character. So that made perfect sense. And then, you calm down, get level headed and you're like, oh, I acted like an idiot. But then,
right.
It was such a good way to do it at the end.
Now, I don't entirely remember what happened with Orange Cassidy and Mox that made Mox come out at the end. That was odd to me. I remember something happening. Like, I know it wasn't just out of the blue, but what was it that happened?
He orange punched somebody.
During Claudio or something.
Yeah. Yeah. It was during the, I think the Best Friends were involved
I think so too.
Yeah. It was either Best Friends as a tag team or maybe just Trent by himself, and Orange punched Yuta, I believe.
Right.
So Mox was sticking up for him.
I thought the Mox thing was a little odd. I get it that it was like they were upset that they lost the week before at Blood and Guts, so they just wanted to fight somebody.
Right.
But I thought the Mox thing was coming out here was a little odd, especially because Pac was on later and they didn't jump him.
I never even thought of that too. You just said that.
I 100% thought they were going to jump him because he left them.
Right. And that would have made way more sense.
I know they're trying to do like a Best Friends BCC thing right now. So I get it. And it's fine. Like I don't dislike it, but it seems a little like, I don't know, shoehorned in.
I can see that. What do you think of AR Fox in the Mogul Embassy?
I like it first of all, I like AR Fox. I know he has a history with Swerve. Like he did some Lucha Underground stuff with Swerve that was really great.
Yeah.
And I like it also because to me the Mogul Embassy, like it is an upgrade from Tattooed Face Man and Parker. Like yes. It is. But it doesn't seem like it fits Swerve right now. Like it really does seem like they stuck Swerve in another already established group, which they did. So it felt a little weird. Yeah. Like even Prince Nana, like they don't really go along with, like Prince Nana's starting to like dress a bit more like Swerve now, so it kind of fits a bit better. But for a while it didn't fit. It was just like, oh yeah, he's in our stable now. Like it was a little odd. So I'm hoping the inclusion of AR Fox makes it more like a bit more cohesive. Like he has a history with Swerve. Now it makes a bit more sense why they're together.
Right. And I mean, AR Fox is such a good human being. Like I want to see him as a miserable heel.
Yeah. I think it'll be good. Like I think they'll be
same
good
here.
Together. I'm excited.
Same
for it.
here.
Oh, I do hope they also, it seems like they're leaning this way. I hope they end up adding Big Bill.
Oh, that would be sick.
Because he's been tagging with Brian Cage, so that would work.
Yeah. Oh, it would work. Oh,
and the firm is not really a thing anymore, so.
True.
That would work.
I'll take it. I will take it. Okay. Now this, I don't know how long we're going to spend on it, but this whole Jericho Don Callis family thing, am I the only person that thinks that it's, I don't want to say boring, but do they spend way too much time on something that nobody even, like, I didn't even know that Don Callis family was a legit thing until last week.
Right. Yeah.
Like, I just thought it was a joke.
It is weird that he's like, he's going to join their group. Who's the group? Takeshita? Like, it's one guy.
Right.
Like,
right.
And I like Takeshita, but it's weird to be like, join the Don Callis family. Well, who's in it? Well, there's Don Callis, and then there's Takeshita. And that's it.
Like, possibly you. It's I literally thought it was just something that they said on TV as like a little inside joke.
Right.
Now it's all of a sudden it's a beginning of a stable, I guess.
I kind of like that they're playing to like the history between Jericho and Don Callis, like the stuff I didn't know that they were like a team that long ago. Like that I like that. But it's a little odd that also Jericho's like pretty clearly joining them. Like he keeps talking, hanging out with them. He's going like, but like they're still stretching it. Like just decide, like either decide to join them or not join them. Like why is this taking so long?
That's it makes no sense. I mean, it's kind of funny, but it's annoying. It like there needed to be a definitive end to the JAS and a clear beginning to whatever he's doing next. And right now it's just a big gray area.
Yeah. And I do really hate that it's not the JAS like turning on him. Like now they're mad at him, right? They're like upset that he's but like it does kind of seem like, oh, Jericho's leaving them. And I think they should have left him.
Right. Like, yeah, we used you as long as we could. So now it's time for us to move on.
Right.
Yeah.
I would have liked that a lot better.
I agree. That's wow, I like that a lot better. What do you think the end game is for this whole Jericho thing? Do you think it's another group? Like,
I don't know. I hope it is a definitive end to the JS. Like they have like a blow off match and like Sammy pins them or something. Like I hope that's it.
Right.
As we were talking, I just thought of like, remember like the Inner Circle ended and he was like, well, I have the JS. It's going to be a whole new group. And then he just added Sammy and it was kind of just a continuation. I'm a little bit worried it's going to be the same thing, that he's going to be like, well, the JS is gone. Now I'm the Don Callis family, but Jake Hager's here and Sammy's here too. So it's like kind of Ty Conti. It's kind of the same thing. Like, no, Ty Mello, sorry. But I hope it's not just like a continuation of the J. I hope you're right. It needs like a definitive end. And then he needs to like not be around any of those guys for a while.
Yeah. And he needs a definitive start.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know.
I mean, him and Takeshita's a tag team. That's fine. Like, I don't dislike it.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
But yeah, I don't like the way they're doing this.
Yeah, it's something that would have taken 11 seconds to figure out, not 3 weeks.
Yeah. It's a little much.
We learned that Grand Slam will be, well, we knew they were going to have it, but it's announced for September 20th. Arthur Ashe. This is year 3 for Arthur Ashe?
Yeah, year 3.
I mean, this is becoming a big yearly show. Do they really hype it up this year? Like now that there's, more money involved and more sponsors and stuff involved, do they really give it the kick in the pants that it deserves?
I hope so, because like the first one was really cool just because it was like the first time they've had a crowd like that, the first time they've kind of done a stadium. Like that was really cool. And they had like the Danielson Omega match on it, and then like that was a big deal. And they had, CM Punk was there, and it was a big deal. The last year seemed kind of just like, it was a good show, but it was kind of just like an episode of Dynamite. Like, not that it was bad, but it didn't feel as special as it could have. And I know it wasn't the first one, so I understand.
True.
But I hope they hype it up. I hope it's a big thing.
Me too. I was thinking of this, and I mean, when I say no company, I'm talking about WWE because, I mean, let's face it, other than WCW, there hasn't been another company in 30 years. I would like it if AEW turned Grand Slam into like their free WrestleMania, not just because that doesn't exist. Like,
right.
There's Raw and SmackDown, and then, I mean, every once in a while they'll do it. I don't even know if they still do it, but they were doing the Saturday Night's Main Event there for a while. But that's their thing, and AEW has kind of used their roadmap, but kind of branched off of it. And now I would like to see them do something that just outside of the box. Say, hey, this is going to be our huge show every year, free on cable or however you watch. It might not necessarily be free if you pay for it on Fight, but you know what I mean.
Right. Yeah.
Just
it's
something.
It's not a pay-per-view. Like you're
not a pay-per-view.
Yeah.
It's for your general audience. It's just, let's have fun. Let's make some moments. And I really hope they buy into that. And it kind of looks like they are, but I don't know. I'm hoping.
Yeah, I hope that's a good point. I hope, that would be great. I would like to see that.
And we also learned that Dynamite, 200th episode this week.
Yes.
I have some questions for you.
I'm a really big fan, by the way, of them using like the colorful explosions.
Oh, that's what I was going to start with.
I love that. I love it because that's I like that intro, and that didn't last very long, but it was like really cool. So
yeah.
I hope that they do that intro. Like
Same here.
Obviously, like an updated version of that intro. I hope they do that for the show because that would be fun.
Now, obviously, they're going to do. There's something special planned. Do we get a debut, return, surprise?
Yeah, I don't know. I was trying to think of who hasn't like it. It seems like they're trying to tie it into like the original Dynamite, which makes sense. It's the 200th episode, so like you're celebrating the show,
right?
Because they've put like a lot of originals on the show. Like Mox is their best friend suddenly showed back up on TV. Like they weren't on very much for a while, and like now they're putting them in like pretty high profile matches leading into this. Like they're trying to make it a callback to like the original, the start of Dynamite,
right?
I did find it interesting that I think they'll be there, but they haven't mentioned anything about the Elite. Not that I'm into the conspiracy of like they're probably leaving. I don't think that, but I'm surprised that they haven't even mentioned like, and you'll hear from the Elite. Like they'll talk about whatever. Like I'm sure they'll be there, but I want to know what they're doing. I'm interested in that. I don't know.
Maybe we'll get that promo you've been waiting for.
Yes.
For
where they
7 months.
Where they explain literally anything. Like
right. Yeah, so it's 200 episodes.
Do you think they get the old set?
See, you brought that up today. That's a great point. I'm going to say yeah. Like if you're going to go that much of a throwback, why not?
I hope they do, because the one thing that always bothered me when WWE does their throwback shows, like I like their throwback shows generally when they have like a Raw anniversary or whatever, right? But they don't do the old set; they just do like the new set. But then they use a logo that's not the correct logo. Like it's from the first episode of Raw, they use like the Raw's War logo, but then like the early '90s WWE look, like they don't do it properly, and it always bothers me. So I hope that if they're going to do the intro with the exploding colors, and like, I hope they do it all the way. I hope they do the old set and they do like the old ring apron. And like, I hope they go all the way.
Yes, I agree. They almost have to. I mean, if they don't, it's not that big of a deal, but
yeah, like I'm not going to hate the show if they don't,
right.
Like it would be really cool if they did.
Yeah. The only thing that they have announced that where a surprise could happen, something's going to happen during this Jerry Lynn Jungle Boy thing. And I'm getting the feeling there's going to be a bunch of ECW guys show up.
Yeah, I was thinking about who could show up. And
like I'm talking like a bunch.
Like who's capable of like doing anything in the ring at this point. Like RVD I thought of is an option. And it has to be someone who's also not signed to WWE, right? So I don't know how many of them are. Like it's not going to be Paul Heyman, obviously. So RVD, like Sandman could show up.
Right.
Sabu's already been on TV, so maybe he could be there again. I don't know.
Yeah. What about Bully Ray?
Yeah, maybe.
Wouldn't that be a slap in the face if him and Devon showed up dressed not like in the WWE Dudley Boys, like in the ECW Dudley Boys get
right.
up?
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be
sick. You're right. Someone from ECW is gonna be there, and I don't know. Yeah, they have to be because especially because they pitched it as like Jungle Boy came out and insulted Taz and ECW.
Yeah. They were a second-rate company, and that's if RVD comes out with Bill Alfonso and he's blowing a whistle, my head will just explode. Like you'll hear it. Just by what they announced, that I'm not saying that's the big moment, but if you're gonna have a moment or a surprise, that writes itself. Because like, what's Jerry Lynn gonna do against Jungle Boy? Like, Jerry Lynn might be able to work, but I mean, 95% of Jungle Boy's things are jumping around and flip. Like, Jerry Lynn wouldn't be able to keep up with that. So
yeah. And RVD would make sense because they've had obviously a history between the two of them. So.
And
I mean, Jerry Lynn and RVD. I mean,
right. And RVD was just training with somebody, in AEW.
Yeah, I've heard stuff about him recently. Like he's been on, like, periphery of news. I've heard a little bit about him, so it's possible.
Now, again, we always talk about how when we talk on WWE, we give our fair share of when AEW does something wrong, or we give our fair share. And I'm going to take this opportunity to I feel bad saying it, but Britt and Taya, that match was not good.
No, it was not.
and I'm no longer an athlete, and I could never do what these people do in the ring. So I'm not saying that it's Britt's fault, but Britt was not pulling her weight, we will say, because it wasn't Taya. Do you think this is the first time that Britt has looked outclassed in the ring?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you saw like when they were doing house shows. I think they haven't done any house shows in a while, but when they were doing house shows, I remember I saw some stuff people shared online, like clips from the house shows of like Britt and Anna Jay, I think, were having a match. And it looked kind of sloppy, like the timing was off. And I remember people being like, "Oh, well, Anna Jay's really new, so that makes sense. Like she hasn't had that many matches." And that was the only time I saw like Britt look off. But then she really looked off. Like her time, I think it was her timing. Like she would pause for a second and wait for the next move, as opposed to like having it flow. And again, I could never do this. Like she is a million times better than I will ever be at this. So like, I'm not trying to say like it's easy or anything. I hate insulting, professional athletes or like criticizing professional athletes, because like I'm not one and they're a million times better than me. It could just be a night off for her. Maybe she had, something on her mind, or they didn't get a chance to work out before or something. Like maybe that was it. But it was odd. I was surprised that it turned out the way it did.
Now, this is just, again, the way my brain was thinking. Do you think this could be a wake up call to, like, I understand she's a dentist and she wants to continue to practice, but do you think maybe this is a wake up call to like, hey, maybe I should wrestle a little more too?
Yeah, I don't know if she wasn't wrestling recently because, something outside in her life, or if it was, she was in a storyline with Jamie Hayter and Jamie Hayter's hurt, so they didn't use her.
True.
Like that could have been it. And then like if they tell you, oh, you don't have to show up for the next month because Jamie Hayter is not going to be on TV, so we're not going to use you for anything. Like naturally, you would not be like you. Not saying she sat on the couch and ate chips all day, but like she's not working as much as when she was full time on the road. So that could be it. I don't know. I honestly don't know.
Yeah. Again, like, we're not picking it apart to be mean.
No. Like Britt Baker's like if this is the only time she does badly, like that's fine. She's had great matches and she's done a great job.
Yeah.
So like to say it's not like I'm saying she's not good at this. She clearly is.
Right. And well, that's what I was getting at. Is this, is she going to maybe have a moment here where she's at a crossroads? Do you maybe take a few days off of the practice?
Right.
I don't know. And like you said, it might even been just a bad day. But it's just, kicking the tires on what could have happened.
Now, what did you think of them showing that fan sign at the end of the match that said like "Book Women's Wrestling Better" or something?
I mean, yeah.
My first thought was it was an accident, and they saw a sign that said something about women's wrestling, and they're like, "Okay, show that on TV." And then we're like, "Oh, we didn't know it said that."
Right.
But they stayed on it for a little while, so I don't know.
Yeah.
I agree with the sign, but it's odd.
I agree with the sign. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. It's odd that they like focused on it for that long.
Yes. See, again, I'm the anomaly here, and I watch everything AEW from, down to Ring of Honor. I watch it all. And there is a nice mishmash of women's wrestling, especially in Ring of Honor. But I also know that the average person, if you're watching AEW, that's already 5 hours. If you add 90 minutes to 2 hours more of Ring of Honor, like the average person is not going to watch that much professional wrestling in their life, let alone every week.
Right.
But yeah, they need to do something. It's like the women's roster is big enough now where it's not like you don't have to hide people because there's only like a top 3. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. Like when it first started, you could say there was like, Riho and Nyla Rose maybe and Britt, and like there wasn't much more. But then over the years, they built it up. Like there's Sheeta, there's like, Sheeta's on this week, obviously coming up.
Right.
But like maybe Riho is not in North America. I don't know, but like, I think she is. Like, why isn't she having matches, or Nyla Rose having matches, or like Athena? Athena's done great in ROH. Like she could also like Claudio and Samoa Joe are both ROH champions, and they're also on AEW.
Well, true. That's very true.
So like why couldn't she do both unless she doesn't want to?
Oh, that's true. That's, what we're making people work more. So maybe.
Right. Yeah. No, I get that. I totally get that.
Right.
But like this, yeah, it's hard because I understand that two things. The men's roster in AEW is huge. Right. And there's a lot of people to get on TV. I understand that. And I understand that maybe, I don't want to sound bad when I say this, but like women's wrestling is not as established in North America as men's wrestling is, even though women's wrestling has been around a very long time and there's a lot of really good women's wrestlers. I'm not knocking it. If anything, I'm saying it should be on TV more. Right. But maybe there is a prevailing sentiment that like, oh yeah, one women's match a week is good. But like one women's match sometimes would be fine. But like they really do need to do more every so often. Like why not have 2 1 week? Have 3 1 week? Right. Like why not? Why is it always one match? Which is
at the same time.
At the same time almost every week. It's weird.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. It's almost like, oh, we got to get this in for the sponsors
or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I read an article, I think I sent you. It's I think it was a Deadspin article about this same issue. That the problem with it is like, okay, like Collision this week had a good women's match on it. Like Kiera Hogan and Mercedes Martinez. It was a good match. Yes. But I think I messaged you during it that like I haven't seen these people. Like I don't watch ROH. Not that I don't like it. I don't have time.
Right.
So like I haven't seen these people in months. So like the match was fine, but like why should I really stick around for it? Really, right? Like I haven't like, and not because of the 2 people who were in it. Like anyone who hasn't been on TV in months, just showing up, having a random match with someone, and then maybe leaving again for several other months, right? Like that's hard to get invested in. So when you have only one women's match a week on Dynamite, there's a lot of people who aren't going to be on for a very long time, and it's like it's hard to get into it when like, oh yeah, Riho's here. She hasn't been on TV in 4 months. Right. Like, why am I supposed to care about her if she's going to be on TV once and then not on again for 4 more months? Right. Like it's
right.
I don't know. It's hard.
And again, I think that's why the women are under such a microscope because, like you just said, Britt might not wrestle again, and again, not her fault. Like this is why she might not wrestle again for 2 months because they got to get 16 other people on TV.
Right.
So yeah, of course, if there's only one match to compare it to, and it might just say an average match, of course it's under the microscope more. So yeah, I agree. There needs to be more to just spread the wealth a little bit.
Or you need to at least see them. You need to, like, if they're not going to be in matches, they need to be in a storyline, or they need to be backstage, or they need to do something.
Yes.
Because
like how go ahead.
Yeah,
I'm sorry
to
interrupt you.
No, just because. There we go again. Okay,
yeah,
now you just go.
Okay. Just how the outcasts are always together. Like,
right.
When if Tony's cutting a promo, the other two are in the background. I mean, yeah, the women, that maybe there needs to be more stables in the women's division.
Yeah, or even like reason. I was thinking like Dark Order, like they don't wrestle that much on TV, on AEW TV, right?
Right.
But they're around. Like when Dark Order shows up, you're not like, oh, who are those guys? Because like they're occasionally on Rampage, they're occasionally backstage, like they're around enough that you don't have to remember who they are. Whereas like. It's not that I forget. Like if Riho showed up next week, I wouldn't forget who she was, but I'd be like, oh yeah, what did she do last time? Like what was she involved in? Like why? Like it's yeah. And realistically, why should you care if Riho came and had a really good match with Nyla Rose on Wednesday, and it was a good match, but then you didn't see them again for 2 months? Like why would you care the next time they come back on TV? And again, it's not a knock on those individuals. It's a knock on how they're being booked or how they're being shown. You're right. Maybe it's more stables. Maybe they need to have.
Yeah, something.
Maybe it's because Jamie got hurt and they had a plan to do a whole stable warfare thing with the Outcasts and the originals, and they couldn't. So now they're kind of just waiting.
No,
but I don't think you can wait at this point with them.
Well, I was gonna say, and in general, if that is Tony Khan's business plan, he needs to make a change to that, because so many times we have sat around and waited for the payoff. Now the payoff is awesome when you finally get it, but leading up to it, like we kept talking about Jade, because they were waiting for Stat to come back. And again, when she beat her, it was wonderful. It was great. Statlander's on a new level now, but getting there was
I agree.
Too much of a ride.
I agree with them waiting for Stat, because it's not like they just wanted her to win the TBS title. They wanted to be the first person to beat Jade. So you can't do that again, right? Like the first person to beat Jade is there's only one shot at that. So if they were just waiting for her to win the TBS title and it wasn't like beating an undefeated streak, I would say, yeah, give it to someone else, and then when Stat comes back in 6 months, have her win the TBS title then. Like that would make the most sense. But you couldn't, because it was also beating the undefeated streak. But like, if they're waiting for Jamie to come back and beat Tony Storm for the belt, they can't just have everyone just kind of sit still for however long it takes Jamie to come back, because like Jamie can come back and beat Tony Storm for the belt in 6 months if that's what it takes, right? But like do something else in that
in
6
that
months
time frame, exactly. And hey, like I said, if that's his outlook, he needs plan B, C, D, and E.
Yeah, and I think that is his plan, because it seems like whenever there's injuries, and not including the time like last summer when like literally everyone was injured.
Well,
I understand that.
Yeah.
But like his plan does seem to be wait, which is admirable in one sense, because you don't want to screw up all of your storylines.
Right.
But in the same sense, if someone's going to be gone for a long time, you can't, like the show needs to keep going. So you have to rewrite it somehow. Yeah.
Because, if I'm hurt and me and you are supposed to do something, well, that affects you, and you can be there every week. I've broken leg, you know what I mean? Like, just because my leg's broken doesn't mean that you should just travel around the United States for 6 months till I'm ready.
If Britt's just not going to be on TV until Jamie comes back, like that's, what does that mean for Britt? Right. Like that's hurting her.
Right. So yeah, like that. Yeah, there just needs to make a change needs to be made.
And I really don't want to sound like I'm knocking any of these individual wrestlers or like women's wrestling or any of it, because I'm not. Like I'm 100% not. And if I'll name someone, like if I named, Riho or Nyla Rose or Shida or anyone, it's not like I'm knocking them or that I don't care about Kiera Hogan. It's that I don't care about the storylines that they're in or the way they're being booked. Like that's the problem.
Yeah. Oh no, I get that. Everybody gets that.
Yeah.
Because it's the most frustrating thing in this company. And
yeah, for sure. Like AEW does a lot of great stuff. And you could even say like, oh, the tag titles sometimes are a bit less important. Like they were for a while, like after. Or like the trios titles, like they're not defending them right now, which is true. But they're still around. Like the House of Black is still on TV, even if they're not defending the trios titles, they're still there. But like with the women, like you get one match a week, and there's I don't know how many women are on the roster, but say it's 30. Right? You get one match a week, that's 2 people, and then 28. Then you have to aren't doing anything that week. And then next week you have 2 more people, and then there's another 28 who aren't doing anything. Like it doesn't work.
Yeah. Yeah. It needs a change. And I mean, Tony, he listens to the people. So, maybe that was a producer saying, hey, Tony, look at this sign. We're going to keep it on the screen for you for a few more minutes here, or seconds, excuse me, to book women's wrestling better. And maybe he'll get it. We can only hope.
I hope so. But that's I mentioned the Deadspin article. I never already talked about it. One of the things one of the things that they talked about was that like he does a good job in ROH. Like the ROH women's division. I haven't watched much of it, but everything I've seen, I know there's like usually several women's matches a week. Yeah. Like Willow's doing well there, and Athena's doing a great job there. Like so is it the network? Is it TNT or TBS being like you get one women's match? Like is it them? And if it is them, maybe he's waiting to like sign a new deal with them. But like he really does need to say something that like I know he doesn't want to upset the network, and I understand that. Right. But you kind of have to at some point say like it's hurting the television show to only have one match a week. Like can we understand that and maybe sometimes have 2 matches a week, or at least have one match in a segment or something, right? Just so it's right. Just so some people get to be on TV, because it's not working.
Yeah. And it'll get there eventually, but like that was a good point that you brought up. Maybe it is the network who, they just care about hard numbers, and maybe women's matches, like you said, it's not as established here. Maybe they don't get as many viewers, and, maybe Tony's hands are tied as far as, just the network saying no. I mean, it could just be that simple.
Yeah. Or it could just be like, again, we know nothing about ratings, but maybe they've done, market research, and their audience in their eyes doesn't, I don't know, maybe, but I don't think that's true, because
I agree.
the women's matches get a good reaction from the crowd and the audience. The women's matches get like, I haven't seen anything that like shows that they tank in ratings. Even, in WWE, like I think it was this week that the women's segments and women's matches were the highest rated parts of the show. So like, you can't say that it's universally across the board. If the women's matches right now aren't doing well, it's more the booking than the wrestling. Because like I said, Kiera Hogan and Mercedes Martinez had a perfectly good match, but I didn't care. And I feel bad saying that, but I didn't, because like I haven't seen them on TV enough to care about their match. And it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. You don't put them on TV because their ratings aren't good, but then their ratings aren't good because nobody sees them on TV.
Right. And yeah. It's like we're beating a dead horse, but I agree. And I don't know what else to say other than the change needs to be made, and I think it'll happen. I have faith. We'll put it this way: I have faith that it'll happen. Tony likes to listen to the audience, and the audience is speaking. So hopefully, we'll see something soon.
Yeah, and maybe this pretty bad match with Britt Baker and Ty, like maybe that will shine a light for him too. not just for like shine light, not just shine light for Britt, shine light for him too, being like, oh, if you don't let them work enough, this is what you
get rusty. Yeah. Right. Hey, we were just talking about Rampage. Just one little quick note from Rampage. During the Battle Royal, I know you've yet to watch it, so I won't spoil the ending, but there's a part in the Battle Royal. Satnam Singh was Jay Lethal's partner, and it's about halfway through. Both Hardy Boys are in there, and they run over to Satnam, and Satnam's throwing people around and whatever. And the true professionalism of everything that the Hardys learned in WWE kind of came to fruition in like one moment. Like, people were selling for Satnam, but like, I don't want to say that they didn't want to, but like Isaiah Cassidy, like he was throwing him around and he would do his scream up in the air and blah, blah, blah. But it's like, okay, I get it. You're trying to make Satnam Singh seem like he's super strong, superhuman strength. And it was just coming off like everybody knows a person is not just going to pick up a human being and throw them without a little bit of help. Nobody is that strong. But he wound up and he delivered a punch to Jeff Hardy and then to Matt Hardy, and they both flew across the ring. And like, again, nobody punches that hard, but in pro wrestling, that makes more sense. If that makes,
yeah, you know, I didn't see it, but that does make sense. Yeah.
Right. Like, and it was just that moment that like you could see in his mind that like, oh, okay, like something clicked for Satnam too. And then he went over and he really started to like work with them, and everything that he did, if it was just like a forearm to the back or a punch, Jeff and Matt, like, I mean, it looked like they were getting shot. Like, it was done but it was done so well. And then it got to the point where it took like 5 people to eliminate Satnam, and like, it was that little just build that, again, I don't know if they were told to do it or if they just did it, but them selling his strength was more than just like, oh, he's big. But like, everybody knows that like Brian Cage benches what Satnam Singh really weighs. Like,
right.
I mean, you know, like, he's big, but he's not like 9,000 pounds. It wouldn't take 5 people to lift him up. Like,
right.
But
yeah.
I don't know. It was just this a little pro wrestling type moment that we do knock WWE and everything that they do nowadays, but at one time it was a machine that taught a craft, and the Hardys proved that, and that's what I was getting at.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, but other than that, when you do watch Rampage is just a fun show. This week it was no real storyline, nothing made, I don't want to say it didn't make sense. I mean, it made sense, but they were just fun matches. They were on the shorter side, and the Battle Royal is always fun. So the Battle Royal was great.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of going to be Rampage's role, like especially without Dark, and now the Collision's around. Yes. Without Dark and Elevation, Rampage is obviously their third show, like obviously. Yeah. So that's fine for Rampage. Like, I kind of hope that's how it is, because I don't watch it 10 o'clock at night on Friday because it's late and I'm old.
Same here.
But I kind of like the idea of like, oh, you could watch it at any point. There's like no continuity to it really. That like, I haven't seen it, but I could watch Collision and not miss anything, and I could watch Rampage tomorrow and it'll still be enjoyable. Like, it's not like it's ruined. So yeah, I hope that they do that.
Yeah, and I mean, they're using it as a platform to like continue to announce matches throughout the week and hype things. So it's like, if you're comparing it to old shows back in the day, like people compare it to like what it was called, like WWF Superstars or whatever. Like that, it's not that. It's better than that. But
a good comparison I've heard is it's like Sunday Night Heat once SmackDown came on.
Yeah, I'll take that. That's absolutely what it is. That's a great. Yeah, you're getting like.
It's still like main event people. It's like not necessarily main event, but like higher card people.
That's what I was just gonna say. You're getting, you know, like a mid-carder might main event the whole show, but you're still getting people that you know and that you see.
And it's not like squash matches or like actual matches. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, if that's what they do with it, and that's what they keep it as good. It's just another stepping stone. And
yeah,
they did something this week. This is my other note, and it's not a spoiler. It looks like they're gonna use their first quote unquote call up with the Kingdom, and it looks like the Kingdom are leaving Ring of Honor, or not leaving Ring of Honor, but it's under the same umbrella. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it looks like they're going to be on AEW TV more. And if this is the, we've talked about it on here before, if this is the avenue that they're going to use, you get hired, you start a Ring of Honor, you become somebody at Ring of Honor, then you move on to the quote unquote, I don't want to call them the A shows, but then you move to AEW.
Right.
And it looks like that's what they're doing with the Kingdom now. So I hope they continue to do that because, again, we talked about it before. You'll no longer have those Cole Carter moments where people had no idea who he was.
Yeah.
Like, if, again, I watch Ring of Honor, but you know who the Kingdom is.
Right.
Mike Bennett. But it's eventually it's going to be someone that people don't know, and you can just ask, like, your buddy or whoever that watches Ring of Honor. Oh, that's so and so. They do this, and this. You'll dig them.
Yeah.
They'll have backstories built in already. So if they don't have, like, how people say they need a performance center, I think Ring of Honor is their performance center.
Yeah, I don't think they necessarily need like a performance center in the sense of like a training center, because they're
Right.
not hiring. They're not hiring like WWE. Not even knocking them. It's just a different philosophy.
Right.
They're hiring a lot of people who aren't wrestlers
Right.
or weren't wrestlers. Right. They're college athletes. They're whoever.
Right.
And then teaching them how to wrestle, which fine, that makes sense. Like a lot of successful wrestlers have been athletes in other sports, so go for it. AEW seems to still hire a lot of like indie people, like they're wrestlers. They know how to wrestle. They were trained by a wrestling school. Just no one knows who they are really because they're in an indie fit.
Right.
And then it would make sense. Then put them through Ring of Honor where they because if you work for an indie that maybe didn't have TV or like had an internet feed or whatever, like you don't know what it's like to wrestle on a TV show. So get them up to speed through Ring of Honor, and then if they do well there, then they can go. Not to say it's a step up, but it's kind of a step up. You're right.
Right.
Like, it's not.
For sure.
So yeah, that's a good strategy.
Yeah. And moving right along, that was just a little bit of Rampage talk, but moving on to the big show, as I just said, they're not the A shows, and I just destroyed Rampage. Say move on to the big show. Anyways, moving on to Collision is what I should have said.
I can't believe we've talked this much and we haven't talked about Collision, because no knock on Dynamite. Dynamite was good. It wasn't the best Dynamite ever of all time, but it was fun. It was good. It was entertaining. I enjoyed it. But like Collision was great.
Collision was off the rails good.
It's been good. Like every Collision's been good, but this is the best one, I think.
Good. I'll take that. I mean, they started right out the gate, Buddy Matthews and Andrade, freaking ladder match for a mask, which on paper I laughed at that. I was like, man, that sounds stupid, but oh man, was it an awesome match.
We have to talk about Buddy like popping his shoulder back into the joint.
He's the most macho human being on the face of the earth.
You could tell he tried to do it on his own too, like try to hold onto the ropes, and it wasn't working. So then he just goes. How do you even, first of all, do that? Like, you're in a wrestling match, you're like, oh, my shoulder popped out. I'm just going to hold onto the rope and try to pop it back in again.
And he's probably done it in the past.
Yeah, and then when that doesn't work, go to a doctor and just be like, hey, put it back in. And he does. You just go, all right, and just go back. Like, no, I'd be in tears.
Yes. Yeah. That was insanity. I mean, like makes my shoulder hurt, and my shoulder's never even been out of the socket. But like you said, like he starts out, he's grabbing the ropes and just yanking his arm, and you're like, oh, what the heck's going on? And then he goes to the doctor, and you literally can read his lips, and he's like, oh, you got to put it back in. And
yeah,
he just
that's what he said. It was in commercial, but on Fight there's still sound. So yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's basically what he said. Like I think he said like you got to pop it in or something. Yeah.
And then you just see him grit his teeth, and it looked painful to go back in.
But then he just walked back in the ring and like hit a powerbomb.
Well, yeah. And it again going back to being a professional. When he was getting all that done, did you notice that Andrade didn't panic? He didn't. You didn't even notice that he was just still kind of. I'm doing air quotes, but like regaining his consciousness. He knew that something was wrong, and he didn't want to put the spotlight on him. But
yeah, but like the match wasn't going to stop completely. So like he did set up the ladder and like try to start to climb and then sell his knee and fall down again, right? Like he did something, so it's not like, oh, I'm just sitting here waiting. Like he did. It was good.
Yeah, he covered that part of the match so well.
Andrade, since he's been back, has been great.
Almost like a different human being.
Yeah,
and I'm not like, I don't want to say that maybe he was just jaded from WWE, but like he looks like motivated. He looks. I mean, I even said last night, I mean, he got a new look, and dude, he looks ripped. He looks like he put on weight as in muscle. And he just looks motivated right now. Yeah. And it's so good.
This is a great match.
It was. Definitely thought the LFI was gonna interfere.
Very surprised Roosh didn't come out, especially because they talked so much about him like online.
Right. But I mean, it makes Andrade look like that much better, because if you would have had the House of if you would have the House of Black band and then LFI shows up and it's 3-on-1 or whatever, just all in all good match. And I mean, obviously
props to Julia for going off the ladder through a table,
and props to Buddy for catching her. Yeah. I was like, oh my God. Oh, okay. He caught her.
Yes.
Like, for a half second, I was like, whoa. But obviously this is going to lead to House of Black LFI, correct?
Yeah, that would make perfect sense.
Yeah. Now just
that'll be fun. It'll trios titles online, so that'll be good.
Absolutely. Now that's what I was just going to say. Do you hold off until? Do you put this at All In, or do you save it for All Out, or just general AEW TV?
One of them two, All Out or All In. From I think I mentioned last week, what they said is they want to have each show be different, so it's not going to be the same 20 guys on each show, and not to say they're going to split the rosters or whatever, because they're not. Like, obviously, guys like Punk or Mox are probably going to be on both. But yeah, I would put it on one or the other. Whichever one does, like maybe put the tag titles on one of them, put the trios titles on the other one. I don't know, but I would do it. I would do it. Yeah, that would make a lot of sense.
Oh, it's gonna be so fun. Darby had an open challenge. He was a little frustrated after last week. I honestly could say I would have never guessed that Minoru Suzuki was gonna answer.
No, I could have guessed like 50 people, and I wouldn't have guessed. Not that it was bad, but I never would have guessed it.
Oh, right.
It was awesome.
It was incredible. We learned that the Murder Grandpa is 55 years old, and I thought he was like 70.
Yeah.
I literally I would have died on that hill if Wikipedia didn't exist. Yeah, he was only 12 years older than me. I made it seem like he was 45 years older than me.
My completely made up reasoning here is that Darby believes that Sting is the real Murder Grandpa because he's older, and that made Minoru Suzuki mad and want to challenge him. And I know that's completely made up, but I really hope that that's somehow true.
It's incredible. I couldn't believe that he was only 55. Like, he's not that much older than Jericho. But I made it seem like he was 8.
I mean, they make it seem like, his nickname is Murder Grandpa, right? But like, they don't call Jericho. True. They don't call Jericho Wizard Grandpa, right? Like,
true.
But they should.
That'll be his next thing. He'll steal Suzuki's gimmick because he's over.
That's right.
He'll be the Murder Grandpa. The match was so fun. Though Darby's gonna kill himself one day. I've come to that grim reality.
Darby has I think I'm pretty sure he books his matches because not that they're all the same, but they say they follow kind of the same formula. Like he has a lot of input, obviously, into his matches, and the formula that they follow is he gets murdered for 80% of the match.
Yes,
and then does something insane like that's like he definitely has zero regard for his health.
Yeah, like Mick Foley's got to sit him down and be like, dude.
Yeah.
Like, look what you're doing. Look what it did. I'm not that old.
Yeah. For sure.
But it's it was just a fun match.
It was great.
What do you think next for Darby? What's next for Darby?
Well, I mean, the TNT shot is coming up at some point, right? And Christian told him he doesn't deserve it. So I don't know. I don't know.
He's not worthy.
Yeah, I don't know if they're gonna make him do. I don't know if they're gonna make him do stuff to like prove that he's worthy, or if that's just Christian, or I don't know.
I mean, if Christian makes him do other stuff other than winning a battle royal,
right.
Like that wasn't good. You beat 20 other people, but that wasn't good enough.
Right. I hope he does that. That'd be fun.
Same here. I love Christian so much.
He's great.
Whenever he goes of this title that that we won. Oh, yeah.
And then he's coming up with more clever ways to talk about it. So you don't know who he's like. He's like, you don't deserve to face the TNT champion when you. Yes. And then they're like, when you're talking to a man who has the TNT championship over his shoulder, like he's like, he's coming up with new clever ways to refer to himself as the champion without actually referring to himself as the champion. It's great.
Oh, I really want him to do something at All In. I
do too.
I mean, he just deserves that moment, and I wanted to be Edge so bad. I know it's virtually impossible, but
and you know that I don't know if you ever heard that story about Kevin Nash. I know this is taking a long time, but it's fine. There's a story about Kevin Nash and Scott Hall when they were in WCW, and remember Jim Ross came out and was like, "I'm gonna bring back Razor Ramon and Diesel," and it was the fake ones. But like the week that Jim Ross came out and said we're going to bring back Razor and Diesel, WCW panicked, thinking that no, maybe they found some out in their contract and they're going to try to show up. So they like made them sign new contracts that had more money attached to them, just to be like, no, just so you like. I hope that WWE did that. Just the idea of All In and Christian, like Edge is probably like he probably has another year left to like just sign again, just to make us feel better. Like sign for another 5 years. We just want to know 100% that you're not going anywhere. Like,
right. That'd just be insane. Like, I don't even know how I'd react. Because there's gonna be like we all have to accept this. There's gonna be that moment there. There's something that's gonna happen that we have no idea. Yeah, it's gonna like change the whole landscape.
I agree.
And I mean, it very well could.
It's going to be Jericho joining the Don Callis family.
It's going to be Jericho versus Goldberg. That would actually be incredible.
No, don't put that into existence. Now it is. Now it is going to be Jericho. Now that you mentioned it, now it's out there in the universe. That's what it's going to be.
I would watch that train wreck 6,000 times over. I'm all in on that. Excuse the pun.
Because Jericho would try to be like, no, we can't just do like a 5-minute match. We have to do like a log epic, and it just makes it worse. Because like Goldberg can't do that. Like,
60-minute Goldberg match. Imagine that.
Goldberg's best matches are under 5 minutes. You can't make him wrestle longer than that. Like,
right. Oh man, a 30-minute Goldberg match would be like listening to somebody else read a book. like that's how bad that would be.
And not a good book, like a very dull book.
Yeah. Oh. Anyways,
let's talk about CM Punk.
Yes.
Because we've gone long enough without talking about CM Punk, and now I want to talk about CM Punk.
Yes. Tony Schiavone had an in-ring with CM Punk, and it was incredible from beginning to end.
Speaking of which, before we get into it, I want to mention that I looked at the AEW website. Like, I'm following along with the results of Collision just to make sure we're not missing anything. And they spelled Wembley Stadium wrong twice. in this CM Punk promo. They wrote Wembley, Wimbley, twice.
Awesome. That's amazing. That's absolutely amazing. Well,
CM Punk mentioned Wembley, so he mentioned that. So that's cool. That pretty certain he's going to be there. So that'll be fun.
That will be very fun. He was also like, as he said, why isn't anybody talking about this? That made perfectly. That makes a lot of sense too.
Yeah.
Found out what was in the bag.
Yes.
Spoiler alert, it was the old title that no one beat him for.
Yes.
He goes full blown Hogan. I mean, that was on purpose, right?
Definitely. Yeah.
Okay. I mean,
you don't spray paint a title and not have it be a reference to Hulk Hogan at this point.
Yeah. And I mean, you could say like, I mean, it is the X goes for straight edge. I mean,
right.
It's basically the NWO logo, but it's also, as you pointed out, it was an X over the E from the Elite in wrestling. Yeah. So, is it just all wrestling according to Punk? Is that what he's telling us? That this is just, is that a little wink and a nod? Or is it all straight edge wrestling? Is he the champion of straight edge? I don't know.
Does he own Twitter? Possibly.
That was it an Elon Musk jab? I don't know. Wouldn't that be something if they tried to sue AEW because they spray painted a black X? Well, he's obviously mocking my company. Oh, that'd be great.
Speaking of dumb stuff off the internet, I purposely tried not to go on the internet since yesterday because I loved that show. I loved everything about that show. And yes. I know the internet, and I know that people are I'm guaranteed mad at this. Right. First of all, if anyone's mad that like he's desecrating it's not an actual title. First of all, It's not an actual title. It's a wrestling title. They're not real. Second of all, there is an AEW champion, and it's MJF. It's not even his belt. This is a different belt. So like, relax.
Yeah. Yes.
Second of all, I did see someone say like, "Oh, he claims that he should still be the champion because he never was defeated, but you have to defend your title every 30 days, and he hasn't." Like, obviously, he's not still the champion. Obviously, like, right. Of course, he's not still the champion. Like, he's a deluded guy in character. Like, all this is in character. He's a deluded guy. Right. Who thinks he should still be champion. Obviously, he's not still the champion. Of course they named another champion. Like, he's not. But it's great that he's pretending like he is. Like, just, It's a wrestling storyline. Just, like, accept it, that it's fun. And, like...
this is what brings me to, we always talk about it. Imagine what these people would have done when DX showed up at Nitro with a tank.
Right.
Like, they would have called the Air Force. Like, the rival company has a tank. They're gonna shoot the door in. Like,
yes.
I mean, it's just.
Or Scott Hall shows up on Nitro and they're calling the police, being like, "This guy doesn't work here. Excuse me. He works for another company."
Yeah. Does he have a ticket? Check to see if he has a ticket. Like,
yeah.
Unreal. I mean, this happened on a weekly basis every week. Now as people like just melt down, and I love it.
I love it. It's great. I love everything about this, and we even got to Ricky Starks, which I also loved.
Yeah,
like this segment, Punk and Starks working together is amazing.
Gold.
Yeah, it's great, and you can knock CM Punk all you want, like, for his personality, and he has kind of a jerkish personality. I don't know him, but from everything it seems like he's a jerk sometimes. Like, it definitely seems like he is. But like, you can't say he's not helping. Like, he's not that he's putting Ricky Starks over, because Ricky Starks is putting himself over, but he's giving him the opportunity to put himself over alongside CM Punk. Like, he is.
Right.
And Ricky's taking it, and he's doing a great job.
Is Ricky taking it? That was just it was so good.
I even liked him, like, air quoting it. Yes, I want a quote unquote title shot. Like, obviously it's not a title. Everyone knows that. Like,
yes.
They're not pretending like it is. They're pretending like it's CM Punk claiming he's still champion, which he's not. But like, yeah, it's great. Ricky's great. I don't know what they're gonna do. The only thing that I thought was weird, they should have explained a little bit better. I think I get it. When they announced that Ricky Steamboat was going to be the ref, Starks was kind of mad about it. And I get why Ian Riccaboni kind of alluded to it, that like, Ricky Steamboat's been a referee before and he's very straight down the middle. Like he's like,
right.
he calls everything evenly. So I think what they mean is like, Ricky Starks won't be able to cheat with him as the referee.
Right.
And that's why he's upset. But I think they could have maybe mentioned that a little bit more obviously. But other than that, the segment was wonderful.
Great segment. Now, I do have a question. Does Steamboat have? Obviously, the answer is no. He doesn't have a Legends deal, right?
No.
I mean, okay. I mean, I know he's in the Hall of Fame, but I know that's like obviously different because like Jake the Snake's in the Hall of Fame, but works for AEW. It doesn't mean you're not tied to WWE if you're in the Hall of Fame, obviously. But does like Steamboat hasn't done anything for WWE in a while, correct? That was my next question.
I don't think so. I feel like the last thing he did was like 10 years ago. Like he had an angle with Jericho like 10 years ago.
Okay, yeah, I remember that.
Or and then more. Like, I don't know how long, but I don't remember him doing anything else.
Okay, I didn't think so. That makes me happy that they like AEW takes care of the veterans better than WWE does, and that's where they all came from.
I mean, to be fair, literally everyone takes care of people better than
well,
WWE does.
That's true. I mean, according to Jeff Hardy, AEW treats you like a human. So, I mean, if that's the first thing you say,
it was Matt, and I loved that quote being like, "So what's the difference between working for Tony Khan and Vince McMahon?" And he like talks a little bit about their like creative process. And he's like, but Tony Khan sees you as a human being. Like when you're comparing two people and you say one of them treats me like a human being, you're clearly also saying the other one doesn't treat me like a human being.
Yeah. Is the other one? Yeah. what a quote. It's like night and day. They treat you like a human in AEW. It's like wow.
And I think Ricky Steamboat has some history with CM Punk, though, doesn't he? From like ROH times?
Yes. That I don't know. I mean, I know he has some history with him, but that's a good question. It could be.
I think they had like a feud or something in an ROH. I don't know for sure, but I think they did. I remember them having a feud.
That's so awesome.
I don't remember the details of it, but I'm sure they have the footage and they'll show it to us before.
Oh, absolutely.
So.
Who you got in this one?
I think it's got to be Punk because this has to end with Punk against MJF for both the real belt and the fake belt, right? Like I don't think there's another really good way to end this other than that. So I think Punk has to win. I
agree wholeheartedly. Well, that moves us to the main event. Speaking of MJF and Cole versus FTR. Again, another great match.
Yes.
I definitely thought this was the end of Better Than You, Baby.
But I was so happy that it wasn't.
I know, but it's going to make the breakup that much harder. It's already giving me anxiety.
And that's why I was. Speaking of anxiety, I had so much anxiety because, like, when we can just talk about the ending because the match was great. Everyone knows the match was great. Yeah. We don't need to talk. Yeah. The ending of the match when they did it so perfectly. They did like Cole, MJF, lost the match, and he made a mistake because like Cole was not the legal man, right? So if Cole got hit with the Shatter Machine, it doesn't matter. It doesn't end the match. Like he did it as like a selfless, I'm going to protect my friend thing, which that was great. They had him get out of the Shatter Machine and then get rolled up. Like, it wasn't just selfless. He thought he had a plan. He thought he was going to win the match and he couldn't. So that was great. Right. Then they had Adam Cole tell him he loved him, which was great. And then the part with the belt when Adam Cole gave him the belt and then turned around and then I love that Cole played off the crowd reaction. He heard the crowd boo, and he was like, "Oh, I know what's going to happen.
I know it's coming." Right.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a crowd. Like, you're in front of 5 or 10,000 people. Like, it makes sense that you're like that you react to the crowd. Like, if everyone's booing, something's going to happen that you can't see, right? Like, that's perfect that he responded to it. And then when the crowd cheered again because MJF put the belt down, then Adam Cole turned around and be like, "Oh, now it's safe because now the crowd told me it's safe." It was perfect. And I had so much anxiety because after that moment, I was sure when they hugged, I was sure MJF was going to turn on him then. Like, he was going to low blow him or something. And like, until the show actually went off the air, I was just like, he's going to do it. He's going to do it. He's going to do it. And then he didn't. I'm like, he didn't. Wow. Like, it was great. It was wonderful. Give them an Emmy.
Totally. Listen to Michael Cole.
Emmys all around.
So my question, does this set up the Adam Cole heel turn, who MJF just, he exposed himself? Does Cole literally rip his heart out and turn on him?
Yeah, I don't know what's going to happen now, because I don't know if you watched, I mentioned it to you. They showed like the
I have not watched those yet.
The stuff MJF did after the show. Like, they had this little segment after the show. I don't want to ruin all of it, but basically MJF is very face on that segment. Like, he's not
right.
He's very face afterwards. Like, he's getting along with everybody. He's being a good guy. They obviously put that on their website or put that on YouTube for a reason. Like, stuff happens after the show all the time and they don't put it on. So they clearly put it on for a reason, not only because they're popular, but because they wanted to show that MJF is being a good guy. So yeah, does Cole turn on him? And now that he's finally, trusted someone, he gets screwed. And does that throw MJF off the handle? Like, he finally accepted someone. He finally trusted someone. He finally liked someone, and that guy screwed him. And now he's going to like lose his mind. I don't know.
It's going to be so good.
It's going to be so good. It's going to be so good.
Love every
whatever happens is going to be so good.
Yes.
And it has to tie into Punk somehow, right? Like, Punk basically called him out. So he has to, maybe he's not going to respond right away, but he has to eventually. It would make perfect sense for him to.
Right. Well, we're going to hear from him at Dynamite 200. So
yeah, I'm hoping that it somehow gets into like a CMFTR versus Ricky Starks, Adam Cole, and MJF thing. I think that would be fun.
That would be unbelievably good. Oh, man.
And I think that makes sense what they do for All In and All Out now, because I feel like Punk's going to have a match at All In for his quote-unquote title. MJF's going to have a match at All In for his actual title. And then do they do the next week in Chicago is like the unification. Whoever wins those two matches faces each other.
Oh, well, man, that's a great point.
Because that's how you can book it.
Right.
You can book both shows, right? You can tell everyone at All In, you're going to see these two matches, and you can tell everyone who's going to watch All Out, you're going to see a title match. You just don't know who's in it yet.
Oh man. Wow.
That'll be great. It's all going to be great. It has to go to a CM Punk MJF feud or match or something, because first of all, they have MJF has the actual title and CM Punk has the fake title. But also, like, they're so good. Both of them are so good at storylines and emotion, and like, I want to see them have another feud again. And that's not to say I don't want to see this Adam Cole thing stretch out. Like, have him have two feuds going on at once. I like your idea of Adam Cole ripping his heart out and turning on him, and then he like loses his mind, and now he's insane. And like then CM Punk goes after him, being like, "Oh, now he's weak. I'm gonna try." And then
oh my god, just MJF's psyche.
Yeah, it'd be great. It's gonna be so good. It's gonna be so good.
So good.
MJF is such a great character because he's not just a jerk. Like,
there's layers.
Yes. On the surface, he just seems like, oh, he's a jerk. But like, there's so many layers to him, and you don't know which layers are true and which layers are made up. Like, character-wise, I'm talking about, and it's great.
Oh, he plays the sociopath to the T. It's like almost scary that he's a normal human under there.
Right. like even now, even when he was upset after the match, like, oh, it cost us the match. Like, I'm talking on character, of course, like not the person. When he's upset after the match, like, is he actually upset, or is he just stringing Adam Cole along to like?
Right.
Yeah, you don't know, right? So I don't. It's so good. And Roderick Strong is probably going to get involved at some point because so good. Poor Bobby Fish.
Poor Bobby Fish. On that note, talk about just what a stupid move. I mean, there's a dumber move to make. You apparently he doesn't understand how contracts work. We'll just leave it at that.
I don't want to talk about this too much because we're already going long, but I love the idea of like in Bobby Fish's world, there's two roads open. One's open and perfectly clear. The other one's like kind of under construction, but they're like trying to rebuild it, and maybe that road will be good soon. So he looks at both those roads and goes, "The perfectly good one, I'm setting that one on fire." And maybe the other one, oh no, the other one's broken down now too. Well, here I am.
Yeah, that's it. Well, here I am. There. That's no, like the entirety.
Also not.
Yeah, now the entirety of his former group is in the company that he was already in and doing well.
And doing perfectly fine. And like there was
anyways, before we go, I just have one final question for you, since there were some rumblings about it this week. Do we find out about, and Tuesday might be the night when I talked about a blockbuster announcement or something, do we find out about an AEW streaming service soon, if not Wednesday?
Yeah, maybe, because they still haven't announced how they're showing All In, right? So they're clearly waiting for something there. And are they waiting for HBO? Are they waiting for their own streaming service? Are they waiting for some other announcement? Are they waiting for like a new deal with Warner? I don't know, but they're waiting for something. So maybe that's it. Then that would be fun.
Yeah, that's my general thought. If they're going to announce something, you do it at, I mean, it's Raw. Not Raw. It's Dynamite 200.
That was a little JR slip there.
That was, man. Wow. Excuse me. Anyways, it's your 200.
If Jim Ross can do it, you can do it.
But he only worked there for 25 years and said those names millions of times.
I mean, you watched it for 25 years. So
that's true. That's true. I watched him say those words for 25 years. Yeah. So like, there's not a better place to do it. 200th episode.
It would make a lot of sense.
Yeah. So we'll see. Anyways, on that note, I'd like to thank everybody again for listening. We have some stuff that you'll find out about soon in the works, and those are all fun. Nothing
like,
major.
Share, subscribe, rate, follow, whatever.
All those things at Elite City Pod everywhere.
Yes. And we miss you, Biddy.
And we miss you, Biddy. Hopefully you'll be back next week. On that note, till next week. Later.